Hello and good afternoon. It is Friday, my bags are packed, and I'm ready for a weekend adventure. This weekend I am heading off to do what is called some rural weekend shadowing. Basically, we're going to drive to a small town and we're going to see how a family doctor works in a small town this weekend. Alrighty, so we are officially in a small town and this is the hotel that we are staying in. Hannah, what are we doing this weekend?
We are doing rural shadowing. So we're going to go hang out with the family doc. And we might get to see patients or we might get to hike. It depends on how many people are staying.
Hannah has a Mickey Mouse and you know, I have my kidney, so this is why we are friends. So the rest of our evening basically consisted of some studying and then an early night to bed so that we could be alive and awake for the next day. After a brisk morning walk to the hospital, we were greeted by some very friendly nursing staff and shown to this very fancy doctor's lounge. The first patient of the day was someone who presented with abdominal pain, and then we also got to see a baby. But other than that, the ER was pretty quiet. So we had lunch, and the afternoon consisted of casting. These little things are for broken fingers, which we later found out we were putting on backwards. I gave Hannah this lovely purple fiberglass cast. Basically, you get the purple stuff wet and it hardens. It hardens pretty quickly, so you have to work pretty fast, but it's pretty satisfying to see the cast after all your work. Ta-da! Ooh. I was the next victim. The cast of choice was a plaster cast. The beginning steps are essentially the same. You put the arm in a sockish type thing, wrap it in this fluffy stuff, and then instead of the fiberglass wrap, you put on plaster. The cast is actually very comforting to wear and it gets kind of warm as it's on your body, so you know, that was kind of nice. Probably would be a lot more painful though if I actually had a broken arm. The next phase was cutting off the cast, which was absolutely terrifying. This thing technically cannot cut through your skin, but it feels so weird. Although I only wore the cast for a total of 2 minutes, there was some sweet relief when it was finally removed. Oh, you thought we were finished? Nope. Turns out I also broke my leg. Luckily, the lovely Hannah was in the ER. She reduced my fracture and fixed me up with this lovely boot. I feel beautiful. Oh, you thought we were done? Nope. Turns out I broke both my arms. It was a very traumatic experience. Please don't ask about it. So after I was recovered, we left the hospital and had a lovely walk home. Yes, I stumbled home with my one good leg and showered with this suspicious luxury 3-in-1 body wash, shampoo, and conditioner. I'm no dermatologist, but that looks like a scam. Anyways, so today we shadowed in a small hospital at the ER. We shadowed a resident and a family physician. Unfortunately, it wasn't too busy, but we got to do some really cool stuff, like we learned how to do casting and splinting, which was a lot of fun, and all the staff there were super friendly, so overall it was a good day. Our preceptor took us out for a lovely dinner, and then we returned to our hotel pretty exhausted and basically just went to sleep. Good morning, it is day 2 of our weekend shadowing. Last night was really fun. We ended up going out for dinner with our preceptor, and then he said he would call us in during the night if anything crazy happened, but we slept through the night, so I'm guessing no crazy emergencies were had. Anyways, I'm looking forward to this day, and yeah, hopefully we get to see something cool, and if not, hopefully we get to learn something. So today ended up being pretty quiet. The biggest thing we got to see was a person who was pregnant and ready to deliver. One of the major barriers in a small town is oftentimes their delivery service is limited, so this person actually had to do some advanced planning to head to a larger center in preparation for welcoming their baby. Alright, so I'm back from my weekend away shadowing, and I just wanted to share a few pearls of wisdom that I learned from this experience. I'm not going to share medical stuff I learned because I think you're going to learn that. That's kind of the bare minimum through lectures, through repetitive clinical exposure. I think everyone will come out of med school being quite competent and know the physiology and the drugs and the interventions, but I think sometimes there's things that they don't teach you, like the soft skills of medicine. So I wanted to share top 3 things that I learned this weekend. So first thing is to learn people's names and introduce yourself. This sounds super lame and super obvious, but it is so important
to introduce yourself to every single member of the healthcare team. I think as medical students, we often go in with this idea in our head that like the preceptor is like the one and only important person that you need to make a good impression on. But the fact of the matter is people talk, and it's good to know the whole team, but also just from a comfort level, if you know everyone's name, you'll just be so much more inclined to ask people questions or interact with them. So for example, we showed up to our shadowing and our preceptor didn't come for like a whole hour. So we were just there for an hour, kind of like, what do we do? But we introduced ourselves to the nurses, we learned their names, and they were so kind. They gave us a tour, they showed us around, they showed us like different equipment, showed us their trauma room, and then when the resident came, they introduced us to the resident, and the resident taught us so much, and then the preceptor arrived and continued to teach us. But I mean, if we hadn't had that initial positive interaction, we kind of would have just sat there awkwardly for the first hour and not gotten anything out of the experience. Another helpful tip is usually there's like a nursing schedule printout somewhere, and I found it just helpful to write their names down in my notebook. And then at the end of our shadowing experience, we gave a thank you card to everyone who was present during our shadowing experience, and it was just really nice to be able to write these people down by name, include them in the card, because they really did make us feel super welcome, and just like small things like spelling their name right. Because the weekend was fairly quiet, the second thing we focused on learning was how to go through charts and how to write orders. This sounds like, that's not really important when you just learn that on the job in medicine. And yeah, I think that's true. But I think like right now, I'm in second year. A year from now, or less than a year from now, I will be in third year. And there's just going to be so much more going on. And just to have the basics, not even down, but at least like in my system, be like, okay, I know how to pull up images for a patient, I know how to go through a patient chart, a paper chart, and an electronic chart. So helpful, because that's going to save so much time and stress when you're there in third year on your first day and some physician's like, order this. So shadowing is like a really safe space to do that. Nobody expects you to know how to go through a chart or write orders, and then so if you have someone willing to sit down with you and go through a chart, it'll be super helpful. We literally sat down with the resident and she went through like page by page through a patient's like binder of paper chart stuff, and she basically explained the layout, she explained the important things to look at, she explained the things that were more like what nurses use to keep track of certain things. And she's like, I wish someone had done this for me, because it just literally took a month of me like floundering and not knowing what to do, and eventually like figuring out through repetitive exposures. Third thing, this was more like a piece of advice, which I had never heard before, but if you are on an anesthesia rotation in third year, make sure you have read up on your drugs, your physiology, and your pharmacokinetics, because when you are in surgery, the anesthesiologist helps put the patient to sleep, and then you just have like an hour where generally if the surgery goes well, there's not a lot that the anesthesiologist does. Obviously they're monitoring the patient, but they don't like need to be 100% actively engaged. And then when the patient wakes back up, the anesthesiologist is involved. But during that middle time when the surgery is going on, it's usually just you sitting with the anesthesiologist. This is a great opportunity to learn from the anesthesiologist, but it's also a great opportunity for them to quiz you / pimp you. So probably one of the more important rotations to really make sure that you've read up on stuff. And I think like anesthesiologists are just such a valuable resource to tap into, and of course you want to be able to ask them questions, and it's hard to ask questions when you know absolutely nothing. So hopefully in third year, when I'm on my anesthesia rotation, I will remember to do some major pre-reading. Anyways, that was the weekend. I learned a lot, and if you are thinking about shadowing, I would strongly recommend it, but I would also recommend like not panicking about shadowing. There's literally so much time. I remember being like in undergrad as a pre-med being like, oh my god, I need to shadow more, and then in first year I was like, oh my god, I need to shadow more, and you know, it's second year and there's been ample opportunities, so yeah. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.